Anybody could be in the room watching our professionals like Mitch Bradley, Admiral Mitch Bradley, and others at JSOC and SOCOM and other commanders. The deliberative process, the detail, the rigorous, the intel, the legal, the evidence-based way that we're able to, with sources and methods that we can't reveal here, that make sure that every one of those drug boats is tied to a designated terrorist organization. We know who's on it, what they're doing, what they're carrying. All these white bales are not Christmas gifts from Santa. This is drugs running on motor fast boats or submarines that we've also struck. No one's fishing on a submarine. And I have empowered them to make that call. Now, the first couple of strikes, as you would, as any leader would want, you want to own that responsibility. So I said, I'm going to be the one to make the call after getting all the information and make sure it's the right strike. That was September 2nd. There's a lot of intelligence that goes into that, building that case and understanding that. A lot of people providing information. I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do, and by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer because narco-terrorists know you can't bring drugs through the water and eventually on land if necessary to the American people. We will eliminate that threat, and we're proud to.
Somewhere in the city that defined holiday magic is a man who wants a little eggnog with his mistletoe. And that guy would like to carol you. Featuring the musical stylings of Mel Tunney and the Dream in Color Singers. Straight ahead, ICE enforcement in New Cities. Cooper Smith from AFPI joins us. More gas guzzlers on the road this holiday season. Derrick Morgan of Heritage breaks down the numbers. Prices are actually getting better, so ask Patrice Onwuka at Independent Women's Forum. Lee Strobel makes the case for miracles. Sketch comedy, diaper diplomacy, Al Berry, and the Babylon Bee. And in the spotlight, it's the Gettys, We the Messengers, and Blessing Ofer. And now from Times Square, where miracles are more common than working escalators in the subway, here's
Hey, welcome to the weekend. Good to have you. Kevin McCullough, very glad to be with you. I'm enjoying being with you 5 days a week now nationwide on the Salem Radio Network, but always look forward to our weekend get-togethers here on TV and radio. All together, we're in like 500 cities and something like 4.3 million people a month that interact with one of our radio shows, and about 3.7 million that watch us on TV across the different channels that we're on. And thank you for those of you that have made me feel so welcome on the television, on the radio over these last 3 weeks. Hard to believe that we've got the new show off and running for nearly a month now, but anyway, it's a lot of fun. Thank you for being here. One of the things that I saw going into the weekend was all of this hullabaloo about the president slashing these poorly vetted immigrant family relief programs that are in a major overhaul. Now, I have a question. Who can question his actions here? Let's just think about this for a second. We started hearing a few weeks ago about all of the fraud in Minnesota, and we see Tim Walz coming out trying to say, well, you shouldn't be looking at this. You should be talking about something over there. And, of course, nobody buys it. They know that where there's smoke, there's fire. That's what they've kind of figured out here. But there are millions and millions and millions of dollars that the Somali immigrant community, that some were just planted there by the Obama administration when they were pulling people out of the Middle East and out of Africa. And they just said, well, we're just going to put them in Minnesota. Boom, we're going to turn that red state into a purple state, maybe even a blue state. It's now been reliably blue for the last several rounds of elections. But here's the thing. When you're losing millions and millions of dollars to fraud, Pay attention, people. Which party is defending the actions of the people that were responsible for it? So if you have someone, for example, who is more offended at the fact that President Trump may have referred to Governor Walz with the R word, ooh, the R word. If you're more offended by that than you are that he enabled and allowed people like Ilhan Omar and Keith Ellison to just look the other way when millions and millions of dollars worth of fraud went happening against the American people, then your priorities are mistaken. You're messed up, dude. Here's the thing. I don't even want to get into Ilhan Omar's involvement in the Minnesota corruption, the stealing from the federal government issue yet, because this week she actually confirmed that her first husband was in fact her brother. Now, I don't know all of the ins and outs of immigration law, but I do know that when you lie on the applications, it should void the application. And if you're saying, this is my fiance and we're going to get married, and then you do marry him, but it's not really your fiance, and if it is, that's an even worse problem, especially as grown adults. Here you have basically a sitting congresswoman who's admitting that she committed fraud to get immigration status in the U.S. She committed fraud to get the benefits that she needed from the government. She committed fraud to relocate and to plant herself into a new life. And then when she thought nobody was looking, she and her brother, no matter what they'd been doing, suddenly said, well, we probably need to part ways here. And then she married the other guy who's also been her like campaign manager and like office assistant. And I mean, you have to be a pretty emasculated male to be in the life of Ilhan Omar. She's about as tough as they come when it comes to women in the Muslim garb these days, because she seems to take orders from no one. But here's what I want to do. I want to make sure you look into that. If she committed fraud to be here, she should be gone. She should be tossed. I don't care if she's a sitting member of Congress. If she doesn't have the right to be here, if she defrauded the U.S. government in her application to come, she needs to go. She's part of the problem. And that opens us up now to all these programs. Did anybody really think that when you have lots and lots and lots of these little different programs meeting the needs of these little different people in all these little different ways about family relief and placement and help and all the rest of this for people that are coming here who don't have loyalties to America, anybody think that was going to be free of fraud, by the way? Why is it? I'm curious about this because I see this regularly. Why is it always the Democrats that are fighting the accountability of actually even checking the numbers? Like, Tim Walz gets offended if people say, can you show us your books? If he's running everything on the up and up, he should be like, yeah, here, take a look. But no, the Democrats are never like that. Democrats are always the ones that are like, no, you're a racist because you're asking us about this. It has nothing to do with the color of someone's skin or their ethnic origin or anything else to want to have operations cleanly performed. But I'm kind of in Trump's camp here. Take it all away. Slash all of it. Be done with it. If it's going to cheat the American taxpayer who is already bleeding through their nose to give everything they have to the country, and if these people are just going to take it and they have no loyalty to America, they have no loyalty to the American way of life, they have no desire to assimilate, no desire to practice faith in a ecumenical society, then they should not have the right to the tax dollars that you and I are earning and paying for the running of our government. And if you disagree with me on this, you're kind of kooky. But I can't do anything about that. You can write me and let me know. ThatKevinShow@gmail.com. ThatKevinShow@gmail.com. You can also feel free to jump on ThatKevinShow.com. Just need to make mention of this before we go to our first break. We have got some loaded promotions for you. There's a chance to win a 75-inch flat screen on my page. Just click the promotions tab at ThatKevinShow.com. I might pay your mortgage for 2026. We're doing a Christmas mortgage miracle, and when we draw a name, they're going to get their mortgage paid for 2026. How do you like them apples, huh? You didn't know them apples were apples. But check it out. thatkevinshow.com, hit the promotions tab, and then sign up for those. And then whatever else you're doing, if you would like to go to Italy next year with the group of us that are going, and we're going to Rome for 4 days and the Amalfi Coast for 4 days, you got to go on thatkevinshow.com, hit the promotions tab, and register for your chance to win an all-expense paid trip in Italy for the 8 days that we're there. We'll pick up all your expenses. Go check that out. That's up at thatkevinshow.com, and it's available right now. Kevin McCullough, very glad to have you with us. We've got a huge show. We're going to talk about ICE raids. We're going to talk about gas. We're going to talk about the way prices are going down. And we're going to talk about miracles. Do you think miracles still happen? Do you think it's significant if they do? Lee Strobel's going to be here in hour 2. He's going to tell us all about that. Plus, in the holiday spotlight, the Gettys, We the Messengers, and Billy Blessing Ofer is going to be with us as well. That's all straight ahead. Don't go anywhere.
Here he is from New York. Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's Kevin McCullough, That Kevin Show. Very quick trip down and back from Washington yesterday. Thank you again, Mr. President and the First Lady, for the invite. Someone who has been to those Christmas parties in the past, Cooper Smith, rejoins us from America First Policy Institute. Cooper, some of your friends and our mutual friends were milling around the Hall of Presidents yesterday. And then at 3 o'clock, the big guy comes down and he says, and without any notes, this guy amazes me. Without any notes, introduces all the dignitaries, has a couple of cabinet secretaries come up and say a few words, and then he just starts rattling off all the stuff that's going on. He's like, you should be really excited about this country right now. There's something that's disconnected from the information he has and whatever it is that the Washington Post and the New York Times are peddling, because they seem to be living in two different countries at times.
Yeah. Yeah, look, this has been going on for 10 years, if not more, with the media kind of living in their own kind of the Acela corridor, right, from D.C. to New York. And look, this is why the president won. This is what gives him power. He speaks to the forgotten people of America, you know, the line worker in Michigan, the auto worker. You know, no tax on tips, right?
The crime victims in D.C., the crime victims in other cities. That was one thing he was really hot on. He was like, you know, we got D.C. cleaned up. I saw it with my own eyes yesterday. He goes, we went into these other cities. Chicago, he was like, I don't understand the mayor there. He doesn't want a safe city. He talked about Memphis, and he said that New Orleans, is going to be cleaned up shortly. What's going on there?
Yeah, so I think New Orleans is kind of the latest in the ICE and Border Patrol operations. So they're kind of rounding the country, right? But the through line from Chicago to Charlotte to New Orleans is these are all sanctuary cities, right? These are sanctuary cities or counties, sometimes in red states, sometimes in blue states. And the president and Tom Homan have been super clear with the American people that this is where the bad guys are, right? So if you're an illegal immigrant, particularly a criminal, where are you going to go? Put yourself in their shoes for a second. You're going to go to a jurisdiction that's telling the federal government, no, we're not going to work with you, and you can live in our community, and we will value you here in our communities, they love to say. They love to conflate illegal and legal immigrants all the time. But unfortunately, it has disastrous consequences. Just in Chicago alone, they've let free 1,700 criminal illegal aliens from jails there, rather than calling ICE, who issues a detainer to pick them up and deport them, making a simple call and say, hey, come to our jails, pick up these illegal migrants and send them home. They release them into the communities, and unfortunately, the American people have to pay the price.
Yeah, and he was talking about how effective and how efficient these operations have been, and like you're genuinely seeing different cities, emerge from it. Like I could not believe, I've done a lot of back and forth in D.C. over the years from New York, and I couldn't believe the area that I had previously kind of lived in, which was kind of right on the border of a really shaky area and then a pretty decent area. But just looking at how peaceful and clean and everything else, that the mayor of Chicago would look at that and say, we don't want that. And the president mentioned this in his comments to us directly. He said, look, he's losing 5, 6, 10 people a weekend, that are dying in these shootouts and this violence. And he goes, what mayor would want that to continue? Because he's not stopping it, and we have the resources to make it stop, and all we got to do is do it. It's kind of befuddling to understand.
Yeah, and look, when we talk about immigration enforcement in particular, one thing I like to remind people is, ICE is a new agency. DHS is a new agency. It was all created post 9/11 in 2002, 2003. And the Homeland Security Act, I think 2002, was passed almost unanimously in the Senate. People like Chuck Schumer and Hillary Clinton and others voted to create ICE. So these federal law enforcement agents, ICE agents, Border Patrol agents, were created by Democrats and Republicans, sort of a bipartisan caucus of our lawmakers, and they're out there doing basic Title VIII immigration enforcement. For your listeners, go Google Title VIII immigration law. Says you cannot be here if you don't have a legal right. We have the right to deport you. So when Mayor Mamdani in New York is telling illegal immigrants in his city, sort of know your rights. I don't know, Kevin, if you've seen that campaign that the left calls Know Your Rights. Well, ICE agents have rights too. They have the right to detain and deport you if you're violating immigration law.
It was interesting. This was a busy weekend for the family, and we were at a tree lighting in a local area on Friday night. And normally this town, when they have their tree lighting, very, very festive, very fun. The whole town comes out. It's kind of a big deal. There were these protesters. They're kind of not far from the actual where the tree was going to be lit. They held this huge fishnet sign up that said "Stop Fascism." And my 15-year-old knows that I'm a little bit of a sucker for this, but I love to play the innocent ask the question game. So I go to the one lady at one end of the sign. I said, "I'm sorry, can you just explain to me what your sign's about?" And she's like, "Well, we're trying to stop fascism." And I said, "Well, yeah, but what does that mean?" And she said, well, it's what we're experiencing. And I said, well, can you define it? And she couldn't define it. And I think she kind of got a little bit of a whiff that maybe I was not on the same team. But she goes, well, all you have to know, it's what Donald Trump's doing to the U.S. And I said, well, he's really bad at it then. Because here you are standing with this sign in the middle of this otherwise very festive Christmas tree lighting, saying to stop him, and he's not doing anything to you. I thought fascists would put you down if you tried that. That kind of gave me away, and we had to kind of depart from that point on. But it's really amazing, Cooper, that they have this kind of viewpoint that the government's out to get us, but in reality, they're out to make us safer. What does Mamdani think he's going to accomplish by harboring people who want to subvert the law to stay here? What's their purpose? How do they make your neighborhood and community better at the end of the day?
So, yeah, I mean, my opinion on this, Kevin, is that, when you think about open borders and, why would Joe Biden, it's my opinion, I don't think it's particularly controversial that if Biden had not opened the border, I think he would have been in a much stronger position to run for re-election. But nonetheless, they did. So you think about why would they do this? And to me, it gets down to birthright citizenship. So every time you send, whether it's 100,000 people with TPS or H-1B workers or student visas, all these various legal and semi-legal pathways they opened, the left knows that every child they have here becomes a U.S. citizen. And to them, in my view, it's about permanent political power. So they understand the crime. I don't think they're, I wouldn't say that they're pro-crime and that they're happy when somebody gets murdered in their city, but they understand that that's the price we're going to have to pay. The American people are going to have to pay for Democrats to have permanent political power. That is my view of it. I don't think you can read it any other way. And unfortunately, we, again, the American people have to pay that price. But you're bringing up the Christmas tree lighting, and I can't help but just bring up that hilarious story out of Portland, Oregon, where not only did they not mention Jesus Christ in their Christmas tree lighting ceremony, they were waving a free Palestine flag all over the place. Did you see this? It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. They don't miss any opportunity to take a swipe at Judeo-Christian culture, the American way of life, and of course, free Palestine and all this garbage that they peddle.
Stick around for more of That Kevin next.
That Kevin
Here he is from New York. That Kevin McCullough.
888-342-1010 or bringherhome.org. That's the number and the website that you go to if you want to do the best thing you could possibly do this holiday season. Whether you're giving thanks, whether you're celebrating the advent of the child, whether you're going into the new year, whether you do that all year long like we should be doing, that's another story. I want you to be excited about the opportunity to help a woman who you've never met. You have no idea who she is. You don't really know much about her life, except that it has been an excruciating experience in ways you've never even thought you would experience. And I'm talking about liberating human slaves. Kevin McCullough is my name. Glad to have you with us. Todd Chatman is also with us from Christian Solidarity International. And Todd, I think about why we love this time of year so much. And it's all the good feelings. It's the packed table at Thanksgiving. It's the stockings hung by the chimney with care in the Christmas cycle. It's all the family and the love and the warmth and the good stuff that comes in. The people we're talking about, many of them are Christian women who have been disallowed from even thinking, talking, singing, praying to the God of the Bible or thinking about the birth of Christ for the number of years they've been in slavery. In fact, they have been forced to adopt Muslim names. They've been forced to adopt a practice called female circumcision, which I don't want to get too graphic on the air, but it is basically the mutilation of their own genitals. And at the end of the day, it's not a sanitary place where they're told to go do it to themselves. And the abuse that these women have taken, just on the abuse level would be one thing, but then to be denied the right to publicly acknowledge their Savior, these are all part of the gifts that we give back to them this Christmas when we liberate one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and you do that by going to bringherhome.org. That's a special website that Kevin set up a few years ago because we have such a long-standing partnership working together. And Kevin, I just got to tell you, we're so grateful for your advocacy, for your passion on behalf of the women and children that we are seeking to liberate. You've just been such a huge
It's important to
champion,
mention that because the children are a new thing. Just a few years ago, they weren't allowed to be released. With the slave masters were very selfish and said, no, only the women goes. But CSI has gotten so good at being able to talk to these people and to convince them that we've started to get some of the slaves' children to be able to be released with them. And Todd, in all honesty, that may be the only thing that is part of her life that's truly hers. The clothing, the place where she's been laying her head, none of that belongs to her. They barely feed these women. This child, and you'd think, like, we're so backwards in the West, we think, oh, well, if it was a conception of rape or assault or something, they probably don't want the child. No, these moms love their children, and they long to have them with them.
Well, sure. And they also know that if the child is left behind, they've already seen what's going to happen to that child. Do you think that child has any value to that slave owner? No, there's no value there. That's not part of the desire to keep them. It's simply coercion and power mongering and evil, right? That's why they want to keep these kids. And so, we're very grateful that God has opened the door for us to be able to do that. And from an investment standpoint, oftentimes you free the mom, you bring a child, you got a bit of a twofer for freedom going there. That's a beautiful thing as well. But we're so grateful for that. And I just, I think I was saying this before, I just think this is the perfect way to celebrate the Christmas season because think about what Christmas means. What do we celebrate? We don't celebrate all the material, garbage that's been attached to Christmas. I mean, that's fine. We give each other gifts, but even that has kind of gotten lost. Why do we give gifts? Well, we give gifts because the wise men came and they bestowed gifts of gratitude and praise upon the Son of God who came to earth. Why? To liberate us, right? So it's really liberation that this season is all about. And that's why it's such a perfect time for you to join in what CSI is doing, freeing these slaves, setting them free. It's what the Bible is all about. I mean, if you look at the entire trajectory of Scripture, captivity and freedom and deliverance is a big part of the storyline of the Bible. Not only physical slave, liberation and deliverance, but spiritual as well, right? And so, if you have been freed. And you're a Christian, you've experienced the salvation that can only come through Jesus Christ and his shed blood, then man, I don't know, Kev. I just feel so compelled, and the older I get, the more powerful that compulsion becomes. It's like I just want more people to experience freedom in Jesus, and I want more people to experience the incredibly good feeling that you get when you say, "Yes, God, use me to share your love in powerfully transformative ways with people not only in my circle here, but with people that I will never meet this side of heaven." Yeah. That is so incredible, and that's what you have the opportunity to do, friends. $250. I mean, come on.
Stick around for more of That Kevin next.
That Kevin Show.
From New York, That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you with us. It's That Kevin Show. You know, just last week, the president made a big announcement that the fuel efficiency standards were going to be adjusted from the Biden era. Biden had demanded 50 miles per gallon, I think, during his term, and of course, his push was to make everybody buy a $70,000 or $80,000 electric car, which did not turn out to be a very good option for most people. Derrick Morgan's with the Heritage Foundation, and he handles a lot of their energy-related discussions, and he joins us for the first time. Derrick, it's good to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
I was really happy when I heard the president come out and say 34 miles to the gallon by 2030. It seems to me to be a lot more of an achievable. Look, I don't want people to misunderstand. I'm fine for finding energy wherever we need it, because I think that AI alone is going to swallow us up if we don't. But we had to change some of those standards because they were so unrealistic.
That's absolutely right, and I'm with you on that. We need more, all of energy, all the above. The problem with them is they haven't been met since 2013, and they've been too high since then, and they were going higher and higher, and as Washington often does, it looks like a hockey stick where they punt off the worst parts of the policy till later, but it was coming to a head. You had automakers, they were being forced to sell electric vehicles that no one wanted to buy. That was the only way you were going to be able to meet these standards. No internal combustion engine could meet that standard. And so the president took a very common sense approach. Let's start over again, set realistic standards, and let the American people have a choice of what kind of car they want to buy.
So, and I have a couple of more tech-related questions. You may not be the right person to ask, but I'm going to ask them anyway. My last car purchase for my family, and a car that I just rented a car this weekend to actually drive down to Washington, D.C. to go to the White House Christmas party on Sunday. But both of these are hybrid vehicles where they cut off at the light, and when you hit the gas, they come back on, and until you get up to a certain speed, they're electric, and then they switch over. And it's a very smooth operation. It seems to be well-developed technology, and I know that hybrids have been in the works for a long time. But it seems to me that you can aim for better efficiency, combining technologies, use things like hybrids that will get us further and further down the road as the technology and the development of the ability of the hardware, what we need. I'm also concerned about rare earths and how much we have and what all we do. I think ultimately we have to come up with like a nuclear reactor that's about the size of a ping pong ball that can operate in our car by itself. But until we're there, there's no reduction that's going to be possible for fossil fuel use. It's just we depend on it for too much.
Yeah, that's right. And look, the internal combustion is a very proven technology. When you combine it with a smaller hybrid battery, it becomes much more efficient. Those have been pretty popular. And the bottom line is people ought to be able to decide these things themselves.
Correct.
They ought to be able to look at the full panoply of options. And look, if you're going to be out on a job site all day, you need a pickup truck, right? And the old CAFE standards before President Trump made this call were making those kind of cars so much more expensive. And that's the point. If you need a car with an internal combustion engine, they were jacking up the price because of these regulations, and this is going to restore a level playing field.
And the regulations weren't based in reality. It wasn't because the materials cost more to make the engine. It was because the government just said you have to charge these extra fees.
That's exactly right. And let me give you a perfect example of that. They decided that they would not allow plug-in hybrid electric vehicles to count as an EV for their purposes of their regulation. This is a really asinine policy because a plug-in hybrid could go the first, say, 40 or 80 miles on electric, but if you needed to go on a long road trip, you could switch onto the gasoline engine. Kind of a popular concept, makes a lot of sense. California, these other states, and even EPA and DOT would not count them as electric vehicles. What they wanted to do, quite simply, was to put the internal combustion engine on a path to extinction. But the American people won't have it. They want to have internal combustion engines. They make sense in all kinds of use cases. And what President Trump has done now is restore freedom and choice to the American people.
Well, it's common sense by any other name. This applies to, the concept, these emission standards don't apply directly, but the concept applies to a lot of other stuff too. I remember Joe Biden trying to get rid of natural gas stoves in people's homes. What are we supposed to do, Derrick? Move back to the third world and live in caves and, use firewood? What other options do we have for the needs that we have, knowing that energy sustains and actually extends life? If people, especially, and there's been far more that have died from extreme cold than extreme heat, but how do we survive if we don't have those options available?
Well, Kevin, you and I are thinking about those questions, but for the liberal elites that are very, very wealthy, this doesn't really affect them. They'll get an exemption. They'll have their own ability to have the most expensive forms of energy and be able to feel good about themselves, while the rest of us are really harmed by unaffordable and unreliable energy. The fact is, whether you're looking at our grid or you're looking at automobiles, we need to have a variety of sources, and we need to have affordability and reliability. And quite frankly, whether you look at natural gas and coal and nuclear, all forms of electricity, they've got to be reliable. That's where wind and solar fall short. And then on the car side, you've got to be able to have that internal combustion engine for those longer trips, and if you need to be out on the road for longer than just a short commute.
I couldn't agree more. And who wants to take an 8-hour nap? 300 yards driving across the U.S. It's not It's not feasible. Let me ask you, from an international perspective, from a national security perspective, China is putting online, they did for the duration of 2025, and I think their intention is to do it for 2026. They're putting a new coal-burning power plant online every week for the duration of those 2 years. So every 7 days, they're starting up a new coal-powered power plant. That's not particularly clean technology, but what they are acknowledging through that is saying we need energy this badly. And I think when I'm guessing that the focus of it is AI, and AI is now going to be so integral to national defense in terms of what we can and can't know as fast as we can know it, et cetera. Energy is becoming the national security issue as well.
It is, and China's a little ahead of the curve on that. They don't have really a lot of oil or natural gas, but they do have coal. And so what they have done is they've decided they're going to go all in on coal at the same time that they're also doing these renewables, because that's what they have available.
Derrick Morgan, Heritage Foundation, thanks for all that you're doing.
Thanks, Kevin. It's great to be with you.
Next, That Kevin Show.
I sold out years ago. So you have something to say about the Somalians stealing billions of Medicaid dollars in Minnesota? I do, Steven. I take matters like this very seriously. And when something like this happens, I take action. That's why I'm arresting every person who says I'm retarded. Because I'm not retarded. If I were, would I have gone to college? Well, I think most people who go to college are retarded. Do you have anything to say about the Somalians stealing money, though? Steven, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. But rest assured, I'll get to the bottom of it. For the next 2 weeks, I'll keep my head down and figure out exactly why people think I'm retarded. I can speak on the Medicaid fraud. Oh, Ilhan Omar. You're that Somalian senator who married her brother and is now roped into all this Medicaid fraud. Steven, I did not marry my brother. That would be gross. I married my half-brother. Also, acknowledging Somalians committing Medicaid fraud in Minnesota is racist. That's true, but a crime is a crime. And I swear to the people of Minnesota that when there's a problem, I find solutions. So I will be working tirelessly to prove that I am not retarded. You do know the president is the guy who started all this, right? The president thinks I'm retarded? He's the one who's retarded. That's it. I'm calling him right now to give him a piece of my mind. Hello? I'm not retarded, you're retarded. Who the hell is this? Yeah, you don't know who I am. I guess you're the retarded one after all, Mr. President. I'm not the president. I'm Gavin Newsom. Gavin, you're not the president. I know, I just said that. So why did you answer his phone? I didn't, you called me. You have the same phone number as the president? Whoever you are, you're kind of retarded.
Somewhere in the city that defined holiday magic is a man who wants a little eggnog with his mistletoe. And that guy would like to carol you. Featuring the musical stylings of Mel Tunney and the Dream in Color Singers. Still to come, Patrice Onwuka breaks down the miracle of Trump's prices actually going lower. Speaking of miracles, Lee Strobel joins us to make the case. Plus sketch comedy from the Babylon Bee and more holiday spotlight music from the Gettys and Blessing Offer.
Christmas time, ho, 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 jingle all the way, jingle.
And now, from Times Square, where holiday cheer competes daily with those aggressive pigeons, here's the Cupboard!
For Assignment Desk Weekend, I'm Calvin McCullough. We begin with President Trump cutting family reunification programs for 7 countries, citing fraud and security concerns, otherwise known as checking the guest list before handing out spare keys. Critics are stunned. Supporters say it's shocking only because it happened before the fraud documentaries actually hit Netflix. In Massachusetts, a Christmas celebration in a wealthy enclave devolved into a full-scale holiday brawl. Police say it started over parking, escalated over politics, and ended when someone weaponized a charcuterie board. Authorities confirm the spirit of Christmas survived, barely, somewhere under a Range Rover. Gas prices are falling, which has led the White House to ask, why isn't Trump refilling the Strategic Petroleum Reserve faster? Officials blame Biden-era damage, which is Washington shorthand for, we broke it, labeled it historic, and left the wrench in Delaware. Nicki Minaj has entered the chat, condemning Gavin Newsom's trans agenda and declaring it the end of the road for his political career. Sacramento responded by saying they don't take policy advice from rappers unless it's about federal grants, climate equity, or Super Bowl halftime shows. National park gift shops have been ordered to purge bias-driven DEI merchandise. Rangers say Smokey the Bear is relieved. The bison are neutral, and the Grand Canyon remains breathtakingly indifferent. In Minnesota, Ilhan Omar's GOP opponent is accused of opening the door to massive fraud with deep, deep ties. Investigators say the ties are so deep they come with their own zip code, possibly a grant, or married to their brother. Melania Trump's longtime makeup artist says she's canceled working with the First Family. Sources say it wasn't political. She just ran out of contour strong enough for Washington. In sports, Lions QB Jared Goff shut down questions about the Rams, proving once again that quarterbacks, like America, would like to move on. And finally, Billy Bob Thornton says Landman proves oil men are misunderstood, mostly by people who don't like oil, land, or men. For Assignment Desk Weekend, I'm Calvin McCullough.
Are you there?
Everyone is looking
for a miracle, a healing, a rescue, a supernatural intervention by God.
Please give me the strength to overcome this.
And what happens when the answer to our most vulnerable prayers is no? This is my case for miracles. Does science disprove the miraculous? Or does the creation of the universe and life itself bear the fingerprints of the divine?
What's got to be the craziest miracle you've come across?
This is my most intriguing investigation of all. Awe-inspiring and at times heart-wrenching.
There's no cure. I'm so sorry.
No entiendo. ¿Por qué hiciste esto?
When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you.
How do you let go and give that to God?
Surrender is not the same as giving up. Doesn't mean you cash in your faith. Doesn't mean you walk away.
My mother never stopped praying for him. A lot of people told her, this man has no chance.
God just spoke to me.
¡Enfermera! ¡Enfermera!
¡Angélica! No lo puedo creer. ¿Cómo puede ser esto posible?
Tú tocaste la puerta del cielo y papá Dios te abrió.
Oh, man.
Look at this. Oh,
let me go check on it. Let me go check. Is this the craziest thing you've ever done?
It ranks right up there.
37 gender guess who can be found at your local Target or BDSM shop. Batteries not included except as an additional gender.
Welcome back from commercial, everybody. The next item in our Christmas showcase is number FN2187. We have here a collection of Trump Christmas carols, and you can pick up any of these and enjoy them. They're easy to open. Ooh, is it cold in here? Come warm yourself by the fire, and we'll listen to one of these classic tunes sung by your favorite president.
They're making a list, checking it twice, finding which houses serve pintos and rice. ICE agents are coming to town. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to find a new gardener. That's just the way it is.
Wow, that song was incredible. It blew my socks off. Hey, get ready to rock around this Christmas tree, because the next song is Silver Bells.
Have yourself a mega little Christmas from this house of white, both the building and my race. If you say happy holidays, you'll be shot on sight.
You know what else gets me in the Christmas spirit? Compact discs. It does not come with a lantern. Don't forget to act now. Make this collectible Donald Trump Christmas album your choice for the holidays.
It's beginning to look a lot like winning. Everybody tells me everywhere I go. Take a look at the DEI. You'll find that it's gone bye-bye. With Middle Eastern peace about to grow. It's happening, folks, right now as we speak.
I love you too. Hey, you know what? I can't help but move to those grooving beats. One thing I always think about with Christmas, hot cocoa. And you know who makes hot cocoa the best? Donald Trump. And it makes me think of this song.
Hunter Biden's dreaming of a white Christmas. Nobody wants it as much as him, believe me. With festive snow lines up his nose. I'm talking about cocaine, in case it wasn't clear. He loves the stuff.
Wow, beautiful tunes. And remember, you can always call now and get another vinyl cassette. And you'll be able to put that into your radiographer. Let me start over.
Build the wall to guard our border. They want chaos, we bring order. Donald blocks the gay agenda. sends votes back to Venezuela. I hear it's beautiful this time.
You know that classic Anglo-Saxon tune, Feliz Navidad? No one knows what that means until now. Trump has gruelingly spent hours translating it into its original English. And now we're here to listen.
Happy Christmas! I've always loved this song. Happy Christmas! Why'd I have to ruin it with Mexican? Happy Christmas! Prosperous year and happiness. It sounds so much better in American. Happy
So calm
Christmas!
down, and you won't be disappointed how Donnie lights up your Christmas season. And right now, that's enough for this showcase, but coming up next, don't change that channel because we have the Mike Pence Advent Calendar.
Ready or not, we'll be right back. That Kevin. Here he is from New York. That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you with us. So glad to also be able to chat about the good things that are going on in the economy. You may have noticed the president got out of the White House, kind of felt like he was campaigning again, but he doesn't have another term to campaign for, although he will be stumping for the 26 candidates, I'm sure. But what is affordability? Is it a fake term? Does it mean anything? What does it mean? Let's turn to someone who watches all of this stuff like a hawk, because she's a mama and she's got to make sure that those numbers add up. Patrice Onwuka with the Independent Women's Forum, and she is a busy mom, but she's also one of the brilliant people we get to talk to every so often here on the show. Patrice, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Kevin.
I was just down in your neck of the woods recently, and I love what Washington, D.C. looks like now.
It's a lot safer and a lot more decorations, a lot more stores reopening again.
Yeah, that's got to be good news. Yeah, in fact, you're right. When we were leaving, the whole avenue was lit up and it looked like New York. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Let's talk about the good news on the numbers front. What are we seeing by way of gas prices, jobs, all kinds of things that we're starting to get information on?
Well, we're definitely seeing trends in the right direction. Gas prices, first off the bat, they hit a 5-year low this week, which is fantastic. I think we're looking at about $2.86 a gallon when I last checked. I know certainly in my neighborhood, I haven't seen under $3 a gallon in over a year, and I saw that this week. So, that's really good. Obviously, people need to get around, and gas prices falling is good for their pockets, but also thinking about transportation costs and the goods, that have increased because transportation costs have risen. So as those come down, we'll see those gas prices falling, filtering into the prices of the items on the store shelves. So that's really good. Also wages. I mean, Kevin, I think the affordability issue, a lot of this is how much you get to keep, and then what are you spending that money on? And so we're seeing real wages, which are inflation-adjusted wages, now rising 3.8%, almost 4%, far surpassing what real wages fell under the Biden administration because of inflation. So, people are starting to get more for their money, so to speak. And when we look at just, their take-home pay, that is rising close to about $1,000 during the first year of the Trump administration. And that is going to skyrocket once the One Big Beautiful Bill tax cuts take place next year.
Right. This is what people don't understand. And all the hand-wringing and the kvetching about what is going on with the administration? How come we're not feeling it faster? Look, they moved as quickly as they could from the moment they walked into the building. I mean, one of the jokes that the president made when I was at the White House last week, he asked Sean Duffy to come up, Secretary of Transportation, and he said, "You look exhausted, friend." And he goes, "Well, we're working hard." He goes, "Yeah, you can sleep when we're done." Like it was, typical Trump fashion, but it's like, hey, all hands on deck. We're working hard. Yes. And it took them 11 months to get the gas prices in the situation that they're in now. And $2.86 nationwide is pretty good, considering that California is always going to be kind of, on the other end of the curve. Yes. And when you've got like 4 to 6 states now that statewide are under $2, that really is effective savings that you feel in the pocketbook every month?
Yeah, that's the right trend direction. And let's look at the Trump agenda's economic agenda that's actually making this happen. Deregulation, Kevin, is one of those areas where the president has said, I want 10 regulations out for every new one in, across every federal agency.
Right.
Regulations drive up the cost of doing business. And so just the elimination of those regulations, I found, saves about $2,100 for the average family. So you're talking about deregulations. We're talking about tax cuts, which are going to absolutely, on top of keeping your tax rates low, also cutting taxes on overtime pay, cutting taxes on Social Security benefits, on car loan interest, for example. That's also saving families and increasing your take-home pay. Then you add to that drill, baby, drill, which we're feeling the effects of at the gas pump. And then I think the other leg of that economic agenda really is going to be around, tariffs and what's going to happen with tariffs. Some of these are going to be a good buffer to maybe some price increases around tariffs, but I also think that there are other ways that we can see just the entire agenda really working to stimulate the economy, and that's what we need right now.
I read a piece on Thursday morning this week that said that when the Fed decided to lower the rate this week, and they announced they're taking it down 1/4 point, in its final kind of reduction before I think Powell's term is finished. But there was a throwaway line in the piece, buried 5 or 6 paragraphs deep, that said that the Fed had really been divided on what to do, and the reason they didn't cut it more was because about half the people at the Fed believe that employment is as big of an issue as inflation, and the thinking is you don't cut it, you control one; you cut it a lot, you benefit the other to the extent of the one. Where do you come down on that? Were you satisfied with 1/4 point, or do you think that a 1/2 point would have been possible?
I would love to have seen a 1/2 point. The cuts to the Federal Reserve interest, the federal funds rate, really is important for making your consumer debt just a little bit cheaper. So everything that you have an interest, pay interest on, your car loans, your student loans, your credit card debt, that's actually giving you a little bit more back in your pocket. And so that kind of relief is actually needed. I understand the Fed has a dual mandate of keeping prices low and keeping employment high, but at the same time, I think it's fair to say that inflation is not kicking back up to 9.1% again, where it hit under the Biden administration. We're a little bit above that 2.5% rate that the Fed would like, but I think that we're going to continue to see inflation come down. And so it's worth it to ensure that the unemployment rate doesn't continue to drive up as companies shed jobs and small businesses are not able to hire new workers. They really should be focusing on keeping the economic stimulus, the economy moving forward, knowing that eventually those prices will come down as the other legs of the economic agenda continue to take place.
How soon in 2026 does Big Beautiful kick in? January 1?
January 1. So individual rates are not rising, but on top of that, you're seeing the expansion of the child tax credit when you file for your taxes. You're seeing, a host of different provisions. Small businesses, they're going to be able to write off a ton of business investment, in addition to that nice deduction that allows them to kind of reinvest and hire people. So we're going to be feeling that the first paycheck of the year, and I think that's what people should be looking forward to.
Once we're into 26, do you think there is enough time for the people to feel it tangibly to matter when it comes to the voting booth for the primaries in the spring? You got a lot of them that start very early, but you've got a lot of congressional personnel that are up for re-election that have been in kind of purplish districts that have stood with President Trump that may, if the people in their district don't feel it quite yet, it could go negative. But I tend to think kitchen table wins everything. So if people feel like they've got money in their pocket and they're making ends meet, that always kind of works out for whoever helped them do that. All right, Patrice, thank you for taking a little time to talk to us. I always appreciate it.
Stick around for more of That Kevin next.
That Kevin
Here he is from New York. That Kevin McCullough.
So that's a little teaser from the T Collective's new album called Such Tiny Shoulders. And for those of you that help us liberate a human slave this Christmas, we're going to give you a copy of that for free as a way of saying thank you. It's actually a 2-album set and brand new release, but lots of great Christmas music on it. And the reason that we want to do that is because we want to say thank you for liberating human beings that have been forgotten about and largely mistreated for the entire time that they've been in the captivity of other people. We're talking about human slaves. And I want to say thank you because those of you that have helped us already free more than 100 this year, we're so grateful for every single one of those lives. But we only have until the end of the year to liberate the remaining 200 plus. So we need your help right now. 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010. Or if you want to know more about it, just go to bringherhome.org. It lays out all of the details as to what your gift provides and how it helps the slave after they're liberated. It actually gives them everything they need to start their life brand new back in their home country of South Sudan, where they were kidnapped 15, 20, 25 years ago, and some of them, again, experiencing brutal treatment the entire time they are in the hands of their captors. But nothing captures the story like hearing from one of the slaves themselves. Take a listen.
My name is Nanya Newt. I was about 15 years old when I was captured. My mom had spent the last few days teaching me all about what it meant to be a good wife and a mom, showing me how to cook and sew. She had hoped I would get married in the future. One day I was out collecting firewood, and that was when the Arabs found me and captured me and took me to Sudan without the chance to tell my family goodbye. It took me many days to walk the complete journey. They gave us boiled sorghum as we went, and the men that had been captured with us faced grave dangers. They were considered to be spies, and most of them were killed right in front of us. Upon arrival in the north, I was sold to a master in Miriam village, and then I was sold almost as quickly to another Arab in McCullough Gate. He made me work for his family, sweeping the compound and washing the dishes. They worked me long and terrible hours, pounding sorghum, fetching water. And then they said in order to be a good Muslim woman, I would need to be circumcised. I was held down as it happened, and then I was forced to marry. Against my will, they forced me to work even when I was sick. If I did anything that made them angry, they would beat me. My master never bought me any clothes, never paid me for any of my work, and barely ever fed me. Then one day, I heard about a CSI retriever, and I ran to find him in the town. As it turned out, they were freeing slaves in my region, and they had not known about me. But I think God allowed me to find them because they brought me home. We walked that same journey back to South Sudan. And today I thank God because I am free. I thank the Arab Retriever because he helped. I thank CSI and for those who gave. I cannot thank those of you who gave money to help us become free ever enough in all of my life. But I do hope that my prayer is answered, that we will not stop until they are all free.
Come on, friends. It's one of the most exciting things my family has done over the last 5 years. I want you to know the joy to set a human being free from slavery this holiday season. It will change your life, and you'll get some nice Christmas music sent your way as a thank you. 888-342-1010 or bringherhome.org.
Stick around for more of That Kevin next.
That Kevin
Here he is from New York. That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com. Kevin McCullough at your service. Always happy to be here and always happy to talk to my next guest, though it's only happened a few times over the 20-plus years I've been on the air. But Lee Strobel, probably most famously, is a former reporter for the Chicago Tribune who, through a complete investigative look at what the Christian faith claimed, went from atheism to being a believer. And he rejoins us. He's written a lot of books about this. The Case for Christ, his most well-known one, that inspired a lot of people. Eventually, they made a movie about it. And Lee, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Hey, my pleasure, Kevin. Always great to talk with you. It's a great opportunity.
You're writing books and you're making movies as your kind of full-time passion now. You were in ministry when we knew each other back in the Chicago days. But your latest one is called The Case for Miracles. And I want to ask, before we get into the substance of that, all of your books you've approached from that same investigative mindset.
Yes.
Kind of for the skeptics, kind of for the people that may be unconvinced, but may be open to it.
Yes.
Just tell me a little bit about how the Lord has used that approach in terms of what you hear from people as they read your claims, not just from your original book, but from all of them that have followed after that. The Case for Grace, Case for Heaven, and now The Case for Miracles.
Well, my technique as a former investigative journalist trained in law is to seek out the world's leading experts on these various topics and then subject them to interviews. Some of them take days of interviews.
Rigorous interviews, you might say.
Rigorous, and I shrink them down to one chapter. But ask them the tough questions I had when I was an atheist and force them to give answers that I can understand, because I figure if I get it, anybody can get it. And so I don't have to be the world's leading expert on these things. I find them and I cross-examine them.
Yeah.
And including skeptics. My book, The Case for Miracles, starts out with 3 chapters where I interview the #1 skeptic in America, Michael Shermer, the founder and editor of Skeptic Magazine. And I say, lay it out. Why don't you believe in miracles? And he does. And then I spend the rest of the book responding to the objections that he made. We even have him in our movie. So, we're not afraid to deal with people who have questions and doubts. That's fine.
Yeah.
But let's look at where the evidence points.
Well, and that's just the bottom line. Ultimately, the evidence does point to a God who mercifully loves us, graciously wants to be reconciled to us, and calls us to himself kind of unendingly throughout our life. And your life is a beautiful example of that. But what you've done in your book since then, I think, has impacted a lot of people. Miracles are something that a lot of people are writing about these days. Our mutual friend Derrick wrote a book a couple of years ago. My friend Dr. Mark Siegel at Fox News just released a book about miracles.
That he did.
Why is the fascination there so compelling to people about what supernatural God touching us in this life might look like?
I think part of it is because we've now got investigators who are checking out these miraculous claims and documenting them, many times in peer-reviewed medical journals. So, in other words, the kind of miracles we deal with in my book and in the movie are miracles that you don't just read on the internet and wonder, could that be true? It's not just somebody driving down the street and saying, it's a miracle, I got a parking spot.
Yeah.
I mean, these are cases that have been documented by multiple medical researchers and many times published in medical journals. I'll give you an example. There's a woman who was blind for 12 years with an incurable condition, juvenile macular degeneration. She went to school for the blind. She learned to read Braille, and she married a Baptist pastor. One night, they're getting ready to go to bed. He puts his hand on her shoulder. He begins to cry. He begins to pray. And he says, Lord, I know you can heal my wife. I know you can do it. And I pray you do it tonight. And with that, she opened her eyes and saw her husband for the first time. That after years of darkness, I opened my eyes. I could see perfectly. It's a miracle.
And the first thing she got to see was her husband's face, which was
isn't that amazing?
I'm getting the chills just hearing you tell that story.
I know. Now,
but let me ask you this:
that case was documented, by the way, by multiple medical researchers and published in a peer-reviewed medical journal.
Well, macular degeneration is physically able to be documented. Like, you can tell that that's happening.
Absolutely.
So the fact that she can then go
be
sighted
instantaneously heal.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because I think some people, I struggle with it. What's the difference between God answering our prayer?
Yeah.
Just in like, or let me better put it this way: are all answers to prayer in essence miracles?
That's a good question. You know, I think a miracle technically is defined as an event brought about by the power of God that's a temporary exception to the ordinary course of nature for the purpose of showing that God has acted in history. So technically, I think a miracle is something that is an intervention that intervenes in the natural laws. I don't know that every answered prayer, you're right. In a sense, it's miraculous, but not technically a miracle because it may not be something that violates the law of gravity, for instance.
Well, I wanted to verify that, because what I want people to understand is you're not talking about a bunch of colloquial stories of people that prayed for this and then it happened. You've gone into the scientific here, and you're documenting stuff that's really going to be amazing. The movie is going to make a very short run here very soon. Where can people go to get tickets and take a look at it?
Yeah, you can see the trailer and get tickets, put in your zip code at thecaseformiraclesmovie.com.
I'll repeat that a couple of times before we're done. Thecaseformiraclesmovie.com. The Case for Miracles, all one word, movie, add that one too, .com. Thecaseformiraclesmovie.com. Lee Strobel, my guest. Lee, the obsession with the bigger substance. Gen Z, I hear talk a lot about wanting to really try to figure out what's true. My pastor on a regular basis talks about how, as a pastor, many up till just a few years ago, when he would be at his kid's lacrosse game or whatever, people would come up and say, "Hey, Ryan, what are you doing now?" And he's like, "Well, I'm a pastor." They kind of slink away, like, okay, whatever. But that's in the New York tri-state area here. There's different kind of modes across the country. But in recent years, when they come up and they talk to him, they say things like, "Hey, we need more of what you guys are doing. Hey, tell me more about that." A couple have said, "Can I come to his church?" Is there, from your sense of being out and around, are we in a moment right now where it seems like the Spirit of God is working, and maybe miracles are a sign that are going to be used to help people, ask those bigger questions?
I think so. I think God is stirring something in our culture.
Thecaseformiraclesmovie.com, thecaseformiraclesmovie.com, and take some friends. Take a whole boatload of people.
Stick around for more of That Kevin next.
That Kevin Show.